Killing the Eternal Child, the Ritual of Independence. Chapter 1. The Invisible Regression. In the first part of this series, we explored the golden cage, the architecture of parental control. But today we have to face a much more uncomfortable truth. A cage, no matter how golden, requires a prisoner who stays inside. Have you ever noticed what happens to you the moment you step into your parents' house? You might be a CEO, a parent yourself, or a leader in your community. But the second you cross that threshold, your posture slumps. Your voice pitch rises. You start seeking approval for the smallest things. This is spontaneous regression. Most adult children of controlling parents are trapped in a state of self-infantilization. You are 30, 40, or 50 years old, but psychologically, you are still playing a role that was written for you decades ago. Being a child is a comfortable prison. It allows you to avoid the terrifying weight of total responsibility. If you fail, it's because they didn't let you succeed. But the price of this comfort is your soul. To be free, you must perform a psychological murder. You must kill the version of yourself that still lives for their approval. Chapter 2. The myth of the final conversation. The biggest lie the eternal child believes is the myth of the final conversation. You think that if you just explain your feelings well enough, if you show them enough research, or if you become successful enough, they will finally have an epiphany. You imagine them saying, "I see you now. I respect your boundaries. You are finally free." This is a dangerous fantasy. It is the final chain of the cage. By waiting for their permission to be an adult, you are, by definition, still a child. Adults do not ask for permission to be separate. They simply are. You have to realize that your parents might never get it. Their brain architecture is wired to see you as an extension of themselves, not as a peer. Freedom is not something granted by a captor. It is something taken by the prisoner who realizes the door was never actually locked. It was only guarded by the ghost of their own fear. Chapter 3. Pillar 1. The Golden Handcuffs, Financial Sovereignty. If you want to kill the eternal child, you must first cut the golden umbilical cord. We have to talk about financial sovereignty. In the United States, the golden cage is almost always reinforced with money. If your parents pay for your phone bill, your car insurance, or your emergency credit card, you are not a peer. You are a dependent. Money is the language of power. In the world of toxic dynamics, support is rarely a gift. It is a contract of submission. Every dollar they give you is a vote they cast in the election of your life. It buys them a seat at the table of your marriage, your career, and your parenting. Sovereignty begins with a zero balance. You cannot be truly free until you are willing to live a smaller, humbler life that is entirely yours, rather than a luxurious life that belongs to them. You must be willing to trade their gold for your grit. Until you can survive without their bank account, you are just a well-paid actor in their play. Chapter 4. Pillar 2. The Information Diet and the Grey Rock. The second pillar of psychological weaning is the information diet. Controlling parents feed on your data. They use the details of your life, your struggles at work, your arguments with your partner, your health concerns, not to support you, but to find entry points for manipulation. The eternal child has a compulsive, almost biological need to report to the parent. You feel a wave of anxiety if you don't tell them everything. You must break this. Emotional decoupling means realizing that your parents no longer have a right to know. Start practicing the grey rock method. Become as uninteresting as a grey rock. When they pry, give them the weather. Give them the news. Give them the generic. But stop giving them the keys to your internal world. If they don't have the data, they can't debug your life. Privacy is the boundary that defines an adult. Without secrets from your parents, you have no self. Chapter 5. Pillar 3. The Guilt Threshold and the Villain Era. This is the hardest part. To be free, you must become the villain in their story. When you start setting boundaries, your parents will not applaud your growth. They will use the ultimate weapon of the golden cage, the manufactured crisis. They will suddenly get sick. They will stop eating. They will call your siblings and friends to complain about your cruelty. This is the guilt threshold. Most people fail here. Their nervous system enters a fawn response. and they run back to the cage to comfort the person who is suffocating them. But you must understand this. Their pain is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that the power dynamic is finally breaking. You are not hurting them. You are simply refusing to be their stabilizer. You must learn to sit in the fire of their disappointment without trying to put it out. If you can survive being the bad guy in their narrative for 90 days without folding, the eternal child finally dies, and the adult is born. Chapter 6. The internalized parent. The final battle isn't with your parents. It's with the internalized parent inside your own head. Even when they are not in the room, their voice is. It's the voice that tells you you're being selfish. It's the voice that tells you you're not capable. Killing the eternal child means identifying that voice and realizing it isn't yours. It is a foreign script that was downloaded into your mind before you were old enough to defend yourself. Every time you act in spite of that voice, you are rewriting your own neural pathways. You are becoming the architect. Chapter 7. Conclusion. The birth of the architect. Killing the eternal child is not an act of hate. It is an act of radical self-preservation. It is the realization that you were not born to be a second chance for your parents' failed lives. You were born to be the sole owner of your own existence. In the final part of this series, we will look at the endgame. Once the child is dead and the adult is born, what does a healthy relationship actually look like? Can you ever sit at the family table as a peer, or is low contact the only way to keep your sanity? If you are currently feeling the heat of the guilt threshold, know that the pain is part of the birth. Share your story in the comments. Sometimes naming the bars of the cage is the only way to start melting them. Subscribe for part 3, the final blueprint for your freedom.